TikTok, it's time to rock. It's going to be a great show, boys. I can see, though, that while we were having a bit of a chat behind the stage in the green room, there's a lot of people waiting for us, Brad, for the show to kickstart, brother.
Yeah, look, we apologise. We tend to get a little bit carried away in the green room and chatting about things. And guys, you can blame me whenever you're late or whatever. Just say Brad held us up. He wasn't ready. He had to make his cup of tea.
Unlike anybody else in this channel, Brad talks too much.
I think we all talk too much, Simon. That's our problem.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
I used to.
Are we on this?
Funny. I used to say to my team, I can have a 5-minute conversation, but I prefer half an hour.
Yeah, exactly. By the time the untruths get in the way, that 5-minute conversation certainly turns out to be 35 minutes. I get that, but it's a pleasure to be here with you guys, and we're sorry for keeping you waiting because, as Brad said, we'll blame Brad. Brad's the reason why. We were just conferring and touching base and talking about a couple of things before the show kicked off, and we realised, holy cow, it's 7:20, so we better get the show started. There's a couple of things we want to talk about before we do that, before we get into the show proper, guys. Brad, there's a couple of birthday shout-outs that you want to do, and Simon, you want to do a shout-out to the show that we did last week, I understand.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yeah, so we did we did really well. I think the Woodstock show was 270 views, which is pretty good for us. So thank you everyone for watching and
thank you.
and enjoying it. That's been fantastic. I think there's got a lot of comments on there as well. So thanks all for doing that. Good show. Really enjoyed it.
It's great to see all the comments on the YouTube channel there underneath the show. It's great. Couple of birthday shout outs as well, guys. Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple and Trapeze and Black Country Communion, amongst a few other things, playing a solo career. It was his birthday this week. And the mighty Robert Plant, happy birthday. The old Led Zeppelin's Robert Plant. Where would we be on this channel without Robert Plant and Glenn Hughes, gentlemen?
Indeed.
Well, the giants, aren't they, Simon? We've been associated with them and their bands on a few shows, haven't we?
Just a few.
Just a few.
Yes. Yeah.
We haven't done a. That's interesting. I didn't realise Robert Plant had the same birthday as my dad.
Oh, okay. Oh, actually, Andrew, the other shout out is for this week. We've got catching up with Simon Hosford, so I thought I'd better mention that before we forget to mention them. So we've got the show this week coming up. Just make sure you click the notification button on the YouTube channel to catch up with our brother Simon Hosford. We're going to be talking about everything to do with Live Without a Net. And I'm sure everyone's seen by now, if you haven't, you're not doing yourself any service at all. Go and check out Simon Hosford's recent video of Eddie Van Halen's, is it 10-minute solo at Live Without a Net, dedicated note for note. And if you haven't seen it, it's remarkable. It's got the footage of Ed with Simon playing it. So it's actually muted Ed and Simon's playing it. So it's amazing.
So that's what Simon's saying anyway.
It's hard to believe, isn't it? It is.
Amazing. It is amazing. It's extraordinary.
Tuesday, Alan. Tuesday, Australia, New Zealand time.
Yeah. And Monday for America and whatnot. So just make sure you go to our channel, look at the time card for it. It tells you the date and time for that show coming on. Click notifications so that you get the notification for the show and you can't miss it.
Yeah,
It's going to be a
it's
ripper.
the same time as this show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the
on
same
Tuesday.
time. And we look forward to that. And a lot of you here in the chat will remember, you know, Simon played a big part on the Van Halen shows that we were doing. And, you know, a big part of that was also the availability that we had because of the lockdowns, bro, that you guys were having. And we also had Jerry on as well, you know, from their tribute band, and also Jason as well. So, you know, we'll always be indebted and in gratitude, Simon, to those guys, because, you know, they helped our channel. They brought a lot of subs. We were talking about this kind of stuff in the green room, you know, and we'll never forget that. We know the guys and girls, you know, that helped us. And, you know, Simon and his crew were a big part of our success. You know, look at the subs when he came on. He brought a lot of subs, Simon, Brad.
Yeah. I think that the other thing we'd say is that, probably to your credit, Andrew, that you know, that there was a decision made to, you know, to also, you know, not just examine Eddie Van Halen's guitar work, but to examine Alex Van Halen's drums and things. And I think we're one of the first to get on that and actually have shows dedicated to those guys. And I think that's, you know, that's really good, you know, and that's credit to us. That is
great point.
Not to me, but to you guys, but you know, recognizing that, you know, band is Van Halen is 4 people, not 1, and
Yep.
you know, and the other 2 instrumentalists are creating an environment for that to flourish, for you know, for the guitarist to flourish. I'm not using his name for some reason, Eddie Van Halen to flourish, but you know, there's a lot of talk of, you know, Alex and Eddie being kind of simpatico, you know, telepathic understanding of things, and I think you went into that, and you know, in detail, and I think that's really good, you know, credit.
I think we, on the same program, we actually discussed Michael Anthony in depth too, which was really good. I don't think a lot of channels do that, you know what I mean?
Well, that's right. We had Jason come on, and Jason had some bass guitars there, had his Yamaha bass guitar, and he discussed, you know, in depth how he gets Michael Anthony's tones. So you're right, bro. And what I'm going to do, thank you for reminding me, Simon and Brad, about that, because I will go and get those, and I will feature them on our Facebook groups and remind people that we do actually have some great content. And it all comes back to Simon Hosford, who also, I have to tell you guys, without giving you too much detail behind the scenes, offered a lot of support to our channel around that time too, because we had some difficulties, and Simon gave us a lot of support, didn't he, behind the scenes? A lot of encouragement, guys.
A lot of support, a lot of love, and he's a beautiful man. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
It'd be a pleasure to get him back on Tuesday.
Yeah, and hopefully we can, you know, get him in a headlock and get him on some more shows coming forward. You know,
well, now it's all open. He's a busy boy, isn't he? Yeah. Well, congratulations. You know, a professional musician who's out there earning this thing. And that's fantastic to see.
Yeah.
You know, so hats off to him for that. And you know, if we're the sacrifice, then that's a small sacrifice. You know, somebody getting on. You know what it's like, Brad, isn't it? You know, to be a professional musician is really hard. You know, really difficult. You know, and you know, so hats off to him for being a professional musician.
It's not easy.
Yeah. No, you're right, mate. And you know, and he's promised always when we've made contact to come on and do shows and stuff like that. But he's going to be a big part of our tribute show, Eddie Van Halen tribute show, which is going to be on a Saturday this year, bros. So he's going to come on and co-host that with us too. So, you know, the first couple, he did that with us, remember, you know, for a while there. So again, we look forward to it. Anytime Hoss wants to come on the channel, he
can come on the channel. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Pleased and humbled if he wants to come on our channel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, gentlemen,
Yeah.
we've got a show to get on with.
Yeah, we better kick it off. So the Rock Professor has picked the album this week, and so he's going to do the intro as we always do, and look forward to. And then we'll go around. Brad's going to go second because he introduced the album prior to last week, which was the Aerosmith album. I'm going to go third. Please give us your rankings, and then when the Rock Professor has done his intro, we'll talk about our experience with this album, which will be very interesting, I'm sure. Rock Professor.
So this is for Helene O'Hara, who suggested Santana last week, and it struck a memory for me, particularly this album, and I'll explain why a bit later. But I thought, what a fantastic idea. So Helene, this is for you because you suggested it and put the idea in my head. So thank you very much for that. Yes, this week we're doing Abraxas by Santana, the second album by Santana, released in September 1970, and it was a huge hit. It became the band's first album to reach #1 in the States on the charts. So absolutely killed, and I think internationally too. It was a hugely successful album and laid the basis for what they've done. Certainly, what Santana has done ever since, really combining that Latin feel with blues, but extending the blues out. It's not just a blues album. This by a country mile. It's and introducing that, and I think that we talked about Woodstock last week and things, and they had a fantastic set at Woodstock, stoned out of their minds, but they still had a fantastic set. And these young guys going out and playing and bringing that Latin influence into the music, I think was pretty unique at the time.
Yep.
Not really other bands doing what Santana did, and so it's a fantastic record, and I've as I say, I have a particular set of memories, but we'll get into those in a minute. I'll just say a little bit that the cover is the title, rather, first of all, is the album originates from a line in a Hermann Hesse. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Hermann Hesse, the author. If you were, I've read most of it. I haven't read this one, but I have read The Glass Bead Game is his masterpiece. So if anyone wants to get into that, it's a fantastic book, The Glass Bead Game, and Joseph Knecht. So if you want to sort of I think it was a bit of a hippie classic those days. Hesse was definitely sort of part of that thing, although he was born earlier. So yeah, there's my literary pick of the week. Hermann Hesse's The Glass Bead Game. Amazing existential book. So Santana had read this phrase. We stood before it and began to freeze inside from the exertion. We questioned the painting, berated it, made love to it, prayed to it. We called it mother, called it whore and slut, called it our beloved, called it Abraxas. And he clearly thought that was a fantastic evocation. Something. Definition of Abraxas is a word of unknown significance found on charms, amulets of the late Greco-Roman world, and linked with both Gnostic beliefs and magic practices by early church fathers. So there's a lot in the title to chew over, so you can see why he chose it. So it's recorded at the San Francisco Wally Hyder Studios in 1970, and really refined their influence from their first album. Include, as they said, everything but the kitchen sink influences, which is we'll get into that as we get into the things, and including Carlos Santana clearly seen Fleetwood Mac play in San Francisco, was interested in that, but also the that Latin influence that they brought as well, melded the two things together. The cover art is a 1961 painting, Annunciation, by the German-French painter Matti Klarwein. According to the artist, it was one of the first paintings he did after relocating to New York City. Carlos Santana reportedly noticed it in a magazine and asked it be on the cover of the band's up-and-coming album. On the back of the sleeve, the cover art is just credited to Matty. It's now considered a classic rock album cover. Clarwine went on to design artworks for Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock. We'll talk about Miles Davis as well, because I think there's a link there. Herbie Hancock, Earth, Wind & Fire, and even Greg Allman. So that's, I think it's, deemed a culturally historical and aesthetically significant album by the Library of Congress. It was selected for preservation in their National Recording Registry in 2015. So that's amazing accolade for it as an album. It's recorded. Was it 54 years ago? So tell me, if we go around, Andrew, I'll start with you. Where did you first hear this album? Has it been in your life long?
Give me, Brad, do you mind
do you
jumping
want to
in
go,
first?
Brad?
Because I'm
No, Brad, go on.
Is that okay? Because I'm typing. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's all right.
Thanks.
Well,
sorry,
for me,
sorry, mate.
Still doing his notes.
I always had, a knowledge of Santana. I think everyone grew up, hearing Santana a lot on the radio, and I started my journey with Santana, going backwards a little bit from Woodstock, when I started getting into Woodstock and discovering those artists. I bought it like a greatest hits of Santana, which was a really, really cheap CD I bought, and I instantly fell in love with it. And then when I moved to Melbourne in the early 2000s, there is a iconic guitarist here called Phil Parra, and he used to do a Santana thing called Soul Sacrifice. And I guess watching a band play that music live, it really opens up your mind to, discovering more Santana, which I did. And I went back and bought more Santana albums and discovered this record in particular was always one of my favorites. I haven't listened to it in a very long time, Simon, so I'm glad you picked it. But yeah, I've always loved Santana, but I guess like everything, you go through phases and you start sort of dropping things off, and it happens with Clapton, it happens with Hendrix, it happens with Zeppelin. For me, sometimes I need a break from them, and then coming back to it with fresh ears, or what seemingly feels like fresh ears, you rediscover more and more brilliance in the record. And yes, this is for me, this is I'm going to call it a Latin psychedelic experience, this record. And I'll leave the rest to my rankings, guys.
Cool.
Andrew.
Yeah, there's a couple of things for me that's especially important about the whole Santana trip. Obviously, being a young guy, seeing him at that Woodstock festival that we spoke about on the channel last week, and been blown away by it. And you got to remember, folks, that I'm old, and back when I was a young guy, there was no such thing as classic rock radio. So we never heard a lot of Santana. It was deeply underground. And it wasn't until I went to a mate's place, a guy called Stephen Beasley, and he had that Greatest Hits album, the one with, I was going to have a picture of it. That's the famous one with the dove.
That's the one.
Yeah. And he had that, and I remember he played this album. There was about 3 or 4 of us, and we'd had a few beers and been blown away by it, and especially by Black Magic Woman. Not knowing anything about Fleetwood Mac and the connection there, but being blown away, especially, Simon, by that song. And then obviously the great, wonderful journey we progress on later when you discover something and you get all these dots, Brad, and these threads, and you sort of thread everything together and find out, oh my gosh, first of all, the guy's not the singer, he's the guitar player. Okay, and that freaked me. That freaked a lot of people out, because there was a natural assumption there, when I was talking to other people about this band, because a lot of people hadn't seen, obviously, the Woodstock clips that we had seen. So yeah, that greatest hits, Simon and Brad, was my introduction, and then obviously going wow and having Abraxas on cassette tape. And then obviously remember in 2000 when he came out, when he sort of like was rediscovered again and came out and he just did that collaboration album and just overtook the world again. I have to, before I pass on to the rock professor, love talking, you know. What do the rock professors say? Give me 5 minutes and I'll give you 30.
Yeah.
Give me 5 minutes of your time and I'll take 30. I won't swear, I promise, but it has been a long, long time, Simon, since I've heard this album. At least 15 years. At least 15 years since I've heard this album. We've got Carl in the chat, and I think Carl and I often would talk about Santana and his influence and what he did and the things that he borrowed off these British guys as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, obviously, a little bit later on. But Simon, thank you for picking the album. I'll get you to kick it off.
As I say, it's Helene. She reminded me that. So,
of course,
go back in time to 1975. Yes, kids. I am 17 years old, and I've got my first job, which is working in a clothes shop in Bristol. Called, great name, Clifton Trend. It was called.
Wow.
But it was. I have to say, as a first job, it was great. It was a great first job. I look back on it with great fondness. We had a great bunch of young people. And there were 4 or 5 of us who were all like 17, 18, 19, 20. So we went out drinking together, seeing bands together. We had a Sunday football team that we all played in and stuff. And it taught me, I made the tea and, hoovered and, tidied up the shirts and things. And it was, but it was a lot of fun and a lot of good times there. So I take my hat off to that as my first job because it was really good fun. But part of it, clearly in a trendy, men's outfitters, we played music. And one of the things we played, you'll be surprised to, was Abraxas. So we had on cassette. We had the McCartney album, and we had this one. And so whenever I hear this, the opening bit of the opening track, I'm just transported back to 1975, and I'm a 17-year-old kid in this shop, and we're standing around and having a laugh, and then this fantastic record is there, kind of playing, as the soundtrack to us as going to work and stuff. So yeah, it reminds me of a really great time in my life when the future was wide open. In the words of the great Tom Petty, I hadn't really. I suppose the opposite, really. In the UK, we just had kind of exam results and things, GCSEs and A levels and things, And I hadn't really embarked on that yet. I was 17, I got my first job, but I hadn't really done that. I did that later, So, you didn't do that well when you were 17. Take the long view because it never goes away. It's always out there to be done. Later on, but I spent a very happy couple of years working there. And we had a fantastic time, and this is the soundtrack to that period. Really, that's the song, the album I remember best from that period. So holds up. So thanks, Elaine, for reminding me that we should do this, and I've been thrilled to go. And I too haven't heard it for ages and ages. I can't remember the last time I played it. There's always a temptation to play the new stuff, isn't there? But yeah, it's been fantastic to go back and listen to it again.
Awesome.
Before we start, I'll do a quick shout out to everyone in the chat, if that's all right, guys. And then we'll start on the tracks. So, Helene, thank you so much for reminding me. Great Vanzini, good morning, Great Vanzini. Good to see you. We've got Ellen, of course. Good morning, Ellen, and good morning to Arvin as well. Carl, morning, Carl. Hope you're well, mate, and doing well. Lovely to see you. Hugh Caldwell, morning, Hugh. Hope you're better, Hugh, and things are back on an even keel, and we can get you on again soon. That'll be good. Gretch Zeppelin, morning, Gretch. Good to see you too. I know we had Derek Claxon, Tony Bowen as well. Morning, Tony. On his travels this week, lots of stuff on Facebook. Cool stuff. Thanks, Tony, for those. Phil Byers as well. Morning, Phil. or evening in Phil Byers' world. But, and Derek Clacton as well left us a message saying he'd catch up later. So hopefully I've got everyone. I didn't complain, and I'll do you a shout out as we go. So thanks everyone for joining, and great to see you. And yes, we'll crack on with the rankings, I think. So Brad, you're right about it. Run down the street. Yes, we'll be back in a minute or 10. Keep talking. So the first track on side one is called "Singing Winds, Crying Beasts," which in brackets instrumental. So it kind of sets the tone for the instrumentation that's going to be used on this album. It absolutely starts with a kind of atmospheric noise kind of things, and it has those piano strings that are actually strummed. Somebody actually clearly put their hand inside the piano and strummed the strings with their hand or whatever. And then it's got the piano with the wind chimes as well. It's, great atmospheric noises and things, and shows what I said earlier about them saying that they threw the kitchen sink at it. You can tell in these tracks that there's lots of round the edge percussion and things, and stuff going on that contributes to the overall thing. Interestingly, the first track is really a kind of there are some bits of guitar. There's some bits of guitar solo. There's a great use of feedback as well, Carl. So it's that controlled feedback, which I think is fantastic. You've got your bass and your congas in. Definitely congas, one of the main features of this album. So, and they're straight in, laying it down with that Latin beat, and and you've got the pulsing bass as well with the panning cymbals too, which is that kind of back and forth panning stuff. It's very nice. It's empty, which is fantastic, great atmospheric first track really, and kind of sets the tone and things. It's for setting the tone. What you're going to get in this album, and you're going to get experimentation. You're going to get some fantastic guitar playing, but you're going to get that kind of electric piano and later organ is very much the kind of rhythm instrument on this. Backing up, doing the guitar stuff and bouncing back off each other. 9 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. It's a lovely opening, and as I say, takes me back to 1975. It's fantastic. Brad.
Okay, well, so the first track, "Singing Winds, Crying Beasts," for me, it's laced with congas, bongos, various percussion. It's got drumming. It's got electric piano. It's got organ, bass guitar, electric guitar. I mean, there's so much going on. It's a mood setting opening track for the album. It's mystical, atmospheric. It's got a very early 70s sound to me. Also incorporating that late 60s psychedelic vibe in there with the Latin feel as well. So it's like I said in the opening, it's like a psychedelic Latin album for me. It's definitely
that's a great phrase, Brad.
Yeah. The percussion is very prominent throughout this album, and it creates a hypnotic sort of tribal rhythm feel throughout the album for me. Obviously, Santana's guitar in this song he plays in a very restrained manner, adding texture over the melody. Obviously, the organ adds that eerie underlying undercurrent sort of vibe for this instrumental. It's definitely a very interesting opening track for a record, but it is like a journey, this record. So you've got to look at this album like, the first track, it does matter when it comes to the second track, and then the second track matters for the third track. It's just the way that they've structured this album, and they've done it so wonderfully well. I have to rank it 8.5 out of 10 and never skip, gentlemen. It's a great opening track because it does set a majestic sort of vibe to the rest of the record. Andrew.
Thanks, guys. Look, I just want to also remind you folks, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Rock Professor or the Backdoor Man, but I'm going to speak on behalf of myself. I'm not going to pretend to be a Santana expert at all with any of our rankings. So just bear that in mind if you are watching on replay and you are a Santana expert. Please offer your comments and corrections if you want, because when you're talking about giants, sometimes, Brad, it can sometimes be some issues for some people, but that's not what our channel's about. So the reason why I'm saying I'm not an expert, when I first heard this after the Rock Professor had picked it, I was blown away by this opening track, and I'll tell you why. I'm a closet Miles Davis fan. And in 1969, Miles Davis came out with two crucial, important albums, In a Silent Way and Bitches Brew, which were heavily influential in the rock market scene. And clearly, guys, upon my listening to this, I'm without a doubt under the opinion that Santana was heavily influenced by those albums. And while you talk, guys, about the Latin aspect, of course, that is a key component to this album, and we're going to be talking about that more and more clearly as as the tracks go on, Simon. But for me, this opening track has a splattering on the wall, that red can smacked on the wall of jazz, on this intro, and I kind of dig that. And I think, Brad, back in the day, I didn't appreciate that. I think back 20, 30 years ago when I first heard this, I didn't appreciate that connection. But now I do. And because of that, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 too. Not quite a 10, but I think it's not quite an opening track, Simon. It's something, like a concept album. It's sort of putting you into, obviously, the next track, Brad.
Yes. That's a mood, yeah.
Yeah. The next track is definitely the one. Yeah. Anyway, Simon. Yeah, 9 out of 10, never a skip.
I agree. I think there is a big Miles Davis. That kind of, it reminds me of Herbie Hancock, and I remember seeing Stumble Your Master's East Wind, which had sort of things like this on it, and so very much I think Miles Davis absolutely one of the cornerstones of this record and things, and the experimentation and the vibe. Cool. Absolutely.
Thank you, Meister, for joining us too, and offering some German comments for German people. Thank you, brother.
Yes, fantastic. Great to see you. Welcome.
Well, maybe they're not nice words, because look at that one there.
Ooh.
Oh.
Maybe have we got any anyone? Where's John ZD351 when you need him?
We'll just see where the comment goes before we ask an admin to do something. But yeah, we're thick-skinned.
Yes,
you
steady.
guys,
Meister, please, with the language.
I'm going to do some translation. You guys get busy. I'm going to look something up.
Okay. So the second track is Hugh timed him out. Well done, Hugh. So the second track is the classic Black Magic Woman / Gypsy Queen. Clearly the Black Magic Woman, written by Peter Green, and the melding it with a 66 instrumental by Gabor Szabo, Gypsy Queen, a mixture of jazz, Hungarian folk, and Latin rhythms. It clearly became one of Santana's staples and one of their biggest hits, with the single spending 13 weeks in the Billboard charts, and it helped push Abraxas to hit quadruple platinum by 1986. So it's the song structure is, while it follows the same general structure as Peter Green's version, also in a common time in D minor and using the same melody and lyrics, is considered different with slightly altered chord patterns, occasionally mixing between the Dorian and Aeolian modes. Yes, kids, we're in Rick Beato territory here. Pay attention, especially in the song's intro. A curious blend of blues, rock, jazz, and Afro-Cuban conclave and Latin polyrhythms. Santana's arrangement added congas, timbales, and other percussion, in addition to organ and piano, to make complex polyrhythms that give the song a voodoo feel distinctive from the original. The introduction of the song, which was adapted from Szabo's Gypsy Queen, consists of single hammer-ons, pull-offs, and slides on the guitar and bass before moving into the introductory guitar solo of Black Magic Woman. After the solo, it follows the same chord progression as the verse. The song moves into an 8-bar piano solo in D minor and proceeds to 2 verses sung by keyboardist Greg Raleigh. 2 verses of guitar solo follow the 2 sung verses, which are then succeeded by another verse before moving into the modified version of Gypsy Queen section from the beginning to end. So for the song solo, he played his Gibson Les Paul special. And you can hear him. The main thing you can hear him do is riding the volume pedal throughout. You know, it goes quiet. You hear him turn it up and things, and turn it down. So it's a definite must for you know, as if you're a budding guitar player or something, you know, then it's a fantastic example of somebody riding the volume pedal to get different dynamics out of the guitar as they're playing. I mean, I think that, you know, everyone, I'm sure everyone knows it and things, you know. I think that it's got a fantastic classic guitar solo, electric piano, love the electric piano, and all the frenetic drums and percussions and things give it a unique vibe, you know, that take the original to a different place. It's a fantastic version. And then there's really heavy chords at the end. And isn't it fantastically recorded as well? So just sounds brilliant too. So I mean, it's a classic 100 out of 10 for me. It's a Brad score, definitely, and never a skip. So fantastic. Brad, what say you?
Look, for me, Black Magic Woman, Gypsy Queen, it's one of the highlights of the record. Great second track. I mean, it's hard to imagine anywhere else you'd put this song on the record. It's fantastic. Obviously, the Black Magic Woman cover of Fleetwood Mac, Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, and then obviously transitions into Gypsy Queen. Santana's guitar is the centerpiece. It's fluidity, the blues phrasing in the Black Magic Woman. I love his style. He incorporates Peter Green vibes, but he adds his own unique flavor as well. It's got a rich feel, like a very thick, rich feel. He's got a unique flavor, and for me, somewhat bluesy and somewhat Latin, but there's a lot going on there. He's playing. He's definitely paying homage to Peter Green, without a doubt. That's evident when you listen to his playing on this. Great vocal I've got here from the keyboard player, I believe, that sings, Greg Raleigh. His playing on this is phenomenal as well. And throughout the record, that's you know, a bit of a theme here. I think Santana and the keyboard player are up front. They're the up front guys, and the rhythm section are just laying it thick and heavy. And it's a fantastic version of the song. I have to say, I listened to it. I over-listened to this song back in the day when I first started getting into this record. I used to listen to this. You know, I'd listen to the record and then go back and listen to this song again, until the point where I got a version of it. But hearing it again with fresh eyes has been really, really refreshing. The rhythm section are absolutely outstanding on this record and this track. And the Gypsy Queen section, where it transitions to that, features more that frantic sort of feel. It's got more complex guitar work going on. The rhythm section are driving, but there's a smooth sort of texture that's going on, and a Latin percussion feel, adding that depth. For me, it's one of the highlights of the record, without a doubt. It's 100 out of 10, guys. Never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, one of the cool things about going third is that you can hear what your other co-hosts have to say and either back them up or side skip or completely
shoot them down.
or no, or completely avoid. But no, you guys are right. It is one of the defining tracks, and as I said to you guys in the intro, when I heard this song, The Greatest Hits, this was the Santana track that did it for me for years. It wasn't until, years later where I found out, Simon, that it was a Fleetwood Mac. Peter Green wrote that, and then hearing his version or their version of it, and it was like, look, I have to back you guys up. It's just fantastic, isn't it? Where would this band be if they never took this song, and put their twist on it? And Simon, you've introed it really, really well. It has those similarities that we love, that we can identify with originals. But is it anything like the original, Brad? No, it's not. It's completely not. And I appreciate both versions. I have to agree. I'm going to repeat myself. It's one of the best tracks on the album. What I really like about this track, though, in particular, though, is the tone that Carlos is getting, but also the rhythm. The rhythm section on this track, completely in sync, and we get a touch of that, don't we, with this song, and then it just continues and snowballs until you get an avalanche of intertwining between the guitar and the rhythm sections later on. But I like the fact, Simon, that they picked this for the second track, or the opening track, however you want to see, and because it's got that rock edge. As opposed to some of the other tracks, and bear in mind, 1970, guys, as much as it's about, Latin flavors and jazz ingredients, if it's not rock and roll, it's not going to sell, Brad.
Back in those days, no.
Yeah. So I'm going to back you guys up, and Rock Professor, thank you for an outstanding intro onto this track. It's the one that everybody knows, now because of classic radio. Everybody knows this song, and for good reason. Look, this is a Brad score. It can't be anything less than a Brad score. Anything less than a Brad score, you're in trouble.
Said the man who's going third. Yes, Brad, you and I wipe the sweat of our brows.
We're lucky we didn't get timed out, Simon. We're lucky. It's definitely one of those tracks that I don't think could get any less. Tony Bowen agrees. He's given it 100 out of 10. I'm just trying to see what everyone else has done.
Ellen's in trouble. Your mum's in trouble. Oh dear. What does she give it? She's giving it Helene's score.
And Helene giving it 1,000 out of 10. Okay, beautiful. Well, no timeouts today so far. It's amazing.
Fantastic. And you're right. It's such a classic. You can't really give it anything else, can you? I mean, you bring something new to it, but. As you say, it's still got that rock heart, isn't it? Those chords at the end. It's just amazing. So track 3 is Oi Como Va, which is written and recorded by Tito Puente and his orchestra in 1962, which clearly Carlos had heard somewhere. And it's basically the lyrics to this are the same repetition of the stanza 4 times, which is Oi como va mi ritmo Bueno pa gozar mulata, which is which means listen to my rhythm, good for fun, mulata, which is and that's what they sing throughout. But the apparently the electric guitar, Santana takes the part of the flute melody and things, and this is where we get the organ solo as well. So there's the solo guitar over the organ, just and the you got congas, and you've got what the scrapey things have got. Anyway, you got that very much in that, as you say, very much in that kind of Latin feel, with the guitar playing the melody. And doesn't he play it beautifully? His touch and his feel and his melodic instinct, I think is second to none, and kind of is I say one of the main tracks. And I think that his guitar playing particularly is amazing. It is blues, but it's not completely blues. It has more in the way, more other modes that he's playing in as well, which I think make him really interesting. I have a kind of parallel in my head with Peter Frampton later, but he did similar sorts of things, different vibe, but it's not just a pentatonic thing. It's I'm sure, Brad, you can elaborate on this better than I can, but it's not just a pentatonic thing. There's other modes and other things going on that make it really interesting, and his touch and his feel are fantastic. And clearly for the main part they're playing in the studio together. Remember, kids, this in the days when you played in the guitar. Although I think they overdubbed guitar solos and things afterwards, but in there, and and that kind of dynamic bit that is fantastic in it as well. You've got the drop down, and then you pick up with an organ solo, and some more guitar solos. Just, it's amazing. I love this track, and I give it 10 out of 10, and never a skip. It's as I say, that's tremendous. I can remember it playing in the shop. Takes me back there. Brad.
Oye, como va? It's a wonderful song. It's one of the iconic tracks on the album as well. It's driving. It's got that danceable Latin feel to it, built on the foundation of the bass and the percussion and drums. Santana's guitar playing is fantastic, very melodic. His solos are, catchy. There's a technical prowess going on there, like you mentioned, Simon, but he's playing for the song. The interplay that goes on with Rolly's organ work as well. It's his organ work is very upfront. It's bright, it's infectious. He does a fantastic solo as well. All that contributes to how wonderful this song is and how vibrant it is. It's got a celebratory sort of feel to it. Great tones. Love the percussion. And, you mentioned, I think, Simon, you mentioned earlier that the recording quality was fantastic. This song, as per the other two, sounds phenomenal to me. I love the quality of the recording, the way they've recorded it. And I have to agree, I dare say a lot of this would have been recorded live in the studio with minimal overdubs, if any. And for that alone, it's worth 100 out of 10 and never a skip, guys. It's it just fits perfectly under the previous song as well. Yeah. Andrew,
I think Gretsch makes a great point about a great song, but diminished in my ears due to being overplayed on the radio. Unfortunately, I understand that.
Yeah, we do take that into account when we sort of look at that, Gretsch, but also it takes a bit of effort to try and not think like that when you're ranking, because we're trying to rank it's like hearing a whole lot of Love a million times, but then when we ranked Led Zeppelin 2, you kind of just give it the ranking it deserves. So but I agree, it's hard when it's overplayed on the radio to rank it properly. Andrew?
Yeah, it's the defining Santana song. The previous track that we spoke about, there's an argument to say it's probably not the defining Santana song, but for me, in my mind, this is the track. This is everything that Santana is, especially when you see them live, folks. So I spent the last week, besides listening to this, just watching Santana live on YouTube. And thank you, YouTube, for giving us that opportunity. And thank you for a lot of clips of this band in 1970, Brad, playing this stuff, and very much a band. You had to sort of look and find where's Carlos amongst all these guys. Oh, there he is over there by the stack, hiding behind the stack. And everybody else, the conga players and all that, and his keyboardists are up the front. So very much a band. So he's kind of hiding a little bit, but clearly not, in this performance. And I mentioned it before, there's a tapestry going on between the guitars and the rhythm section, and you get that on this. Simon, it's not blues for me. It's though it might be following that formula. This is the definitive sound in my mind for a long time of what Santana is as a band and what he grew from. I just have to make a little comment there about what Gretsch Zeppelin said. I get it, bro. And that's one of the reasons why I've given it a 9 out of 10, because this is the song that they play on classic radio here in New Zealand 10 times a week. This is the song, Brad. And I have to back you guys up, because many times we've had to rate radio songs. But I think, in the back of my mind, it's still not quite a 10 out of 10, even though it's the definitive, in my mind, Santana song. I think he gets a little bit better. He gets better later on. So I hope I'm not going to get a timeout, guys, for giving it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's never a skip, Simon.
Yeah, I think you should go back and reconsider yourself, Mr. Walton. It's a 9, a churlish 9, honestly. Oh dear. Anyway, fantastic. Well, great stuff. On to track 4, the last track on side 1. So after that, we've got some photos we can have a quick look at. So, not a huge amount, but so Incident at Neshabur, which is co-written by Alberto Gianquinto, and is another instrumental, and very much a kind of jazz inspired, with several rhythm and time signature changes in it. It's quite a complex composition. So it starts off with those kind of fast drums, bass, organ, so that the band is in and playing, and then the guitar plays a riff over the top, and I suspect that's kind of a overdub. But again, there's kind of tremendous. You've got an organ solo, you've got tremendous percussion going on, you've got a guitar solo, again, very melodic, very in modes, but it's not just a straight pentatonic jam thing, which Santana can do fine, but this is not that. You've got various drop downs, you've got some feedback in it as well, and I'm a sucker for feedback myself. That's kind of, but again, it's the atmosphere of it that is one of the major things, I think. What does it conjure up? What's going on? What does it conjure up for you? You've got that kind of melodic light guitar towards the end, and then it dropped down with just drums, organ with a little bass. Got the dynamics of the arrangement of the song, and then the piano and kind of tinkly guitar to end. It's again another really atmospheric, evocative track of that. So I give it a 9 out of 10, but never a skip. It's a lovely ending to side 1. Brad.
Yeah, Incident at Neshabur. Is that how you pronounce it? Neshabur?
Neshabur, yeah.
Neshabur. It's a great instrumental track. It's fusion, jazz, rock, Latin music. I don't know how to describe it. There's a lot of shifts in tempos, which shifts the mood of the song. with sections of intensity. There's a lot of fast-paced playing, contrasting with some slower playing as well. Great organ solo. Santana's guitar, alternates between aggressive playing and more melodic lines. The piano adds a really jazz feel to the song. That's where the jazz comes into it for me. And I think it's a fantastic ending to side one. And it really highlights how amazingly tight this band actually can be in this setting. I mean, it's not your usual jazz style song. It's got a fusion jazz. It's got Latin feel as well. And if they're playing this live in the studio, guys, geez, I'll hats off to them, because that's something quite unique. I gave it 8.5 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Great Vanzini's hit something here really good with this comment. Lots of interesting change-ups, and I've got to agree with him, because I've got a note here. Fantastic, frenetic, and fever-thumping intro. It's quite exciting, isn't it? The beginning of this song, and it's like, where the heck is this going to go? And I'm not disappointed, Simon, where it's going. It's like, oh, okay, and then you can sort of get exactly what it's doing. It's just buying into this whole thing that, one of the great things about the late jazz scene was this free jazz movement, Simon, which was really, really important. And you kind of get that kind of feeling, I do anyway, by listening to this. I think, it's almost as if they want to bust out, Brad, and just go all over the place, but they can't, because it's only an album, you see. And I think that's why when you go and watch this band play live, where they go out and do some of these long jams, you kind of get it, So they give you a bit of a snip here, Simon, on their second album of what they want to do, of where they're going to go, and manage to do it convincingly. I just think it's wonderful. It's smart and clever. And Brad, you mentioned it before too. Great recording, the way that the production, of this, it's not compressed. You can hear the instruments. Very, very clever. I've given this 9 out of 10. Originally, I probably back in the day, Brad and Simon would have skipped this. I would have skipped it back in the day. I wouldn't have been interested in this at all. But, listening to it this week, Simon, I get it. I get why this is there and why it's important. Thanks.
Yeah, good, fantastic. It's a
Awesome.
great side one, I think, and lots of variety and lots of points of discussion there, I think, which is fantastic. So, shall we look at pictures, Mr. Wharton? Are you ready with the pictures?
Okay, so just hold on for a second. I'm just reading what Brad sent me. Okay, so that was definitely Meister was definitely spam.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
cool.
It's very rare we get that. It's very rare we get that. So disappointing, but obviously.
If we've got an admin there, can you ban that channel completely rather than if someone there can ban them, because I can't do it from this screen. I have to go into another screen. So ban that person, please.
Yes. Yeah.
So we got some pics.
Morning, John. ZD351. He's
okay. Oh, John,
he only likes Santana in small toasties. Sorry,
okay.
John. Clearly not a.
Entertain us with your comments then.
Yeah. You could rank another album. This is much
go and
more
rank
fun.
Madonna's greatest hits.
It's a pity he wasn't around when that guy was in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. Manhammer.
So for one of you guys in the chat can go back if you can and ban that person completely from the channel. That'll be great.
Brad's hidden him, I think.
Before we show some pics, folks, if you've been following the channel, you would have noticed a couple of days ago a new photo has surfaced of Peter Green and Danny Kirwan, and there they are. They're late 1969. Danny looks like a choir boy, doesn't he?
Mm.
Yeah, 69 haircut. That.
Yeah. So thank you for allowing me to show that, because there is some connection between obviously these guys and Santana. So in no particular order, there's our show card that we did, and Simon gave you guys in the intro a wonderful explanation of where this painting came from.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through, and Simon sent me some pics, but I've also thrown in a couple of pics here of these guys playing live, and this is one of the first ones. So those are the conga players, Brad and Simon.
Fantastic.
And here he is here. He must be 18 years old here, Simon, in 1970.
What, Michael
The
Shreve?
drummer. Yes.
Yes, he was about 17, 16, 17. I think Craig Manzini mentioned it earlier. Yeah.
Now, guys, we spoke about this last week when we mentioned the Santana set, but I just want to remind you guys, because we love and appreciate a rhythm section, and especially the role of a drummer. But like I said to you, I've watched a lot of videos over the week, and look at this guy's simple setup, Brad.
Love it.
The guy's he's got a snare, one tom, one hat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And listen to what he does with that drum kit.
Yeah. I love a drummer that can play with, minimalistic kits and play outstandingly.
Wow.
It's inspirational.
Oh,
it's all what they do with their kick, snare, and hi-hat, which matters, really.
So there's Simon. There's the conga players.
There's me. Yeah, there's me.
And there's Simon there with Santana hiding in the back there with his now Brad, they look like Fender amps.
Sorry, what was that, Andrew?
They look like Fender amps he's playing through, a tower of Fender amps. It look like Fender Twins.
Yeah, they do actually. But wasn't he renowned for using Mesa Boogie
later on?
I think that's later, Brad. I don't think Mesa Boogie's around in 71, 70.
True that. I didn't think of that.
Yes. No, it's
and there's the band there, and that little short person isn't Ronnie from the Ronettes. That's not her. Okay, if you thought it was. It's not Ronnie Spector.
Ronnie Spector.
Look at the hair, Brad.
No, I love it.
You used to be like that, Brad.
I did. Until I bought the lawnmower.
Actually,
Simon and I used to be like that too.
Yeah.
But we didn't have any fights with lawnmowers. Oh, okay.
Can I say?
Here's the lead singer,
Andrew. Before you go any further, we're gonna have to eat our words. Mesa Boogie has been in operation since 1969.
Right.
Okay.
So, early customers included Carlos Santana and Keith Richards. So he could have been playing Mesa Boogies by 1970 for sure. Absolutely. Brad, you are right, and we aren't.
I'm always right, Simon.
True that. Yeah, we're just out to prove you were right though.
Stratocast, SG there with P90s. That was his favorite setup. Not humbuckers.
It's interesting, that.
P90s, yeah.
because the sound is very humbuckerish. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
got that very humbuckery thing going on. So
Unbelievably so. It freaked
very,
me out when I
very.
found out that he was using P90s. Freaked me out, bro.
Well, I guess P90s are still a little bit more output and a little bit more drive than a single coil, but they put you in that ballpark, you know. So they've still got a fat tone, I guess, but just not quite like a humbucker, Andrew.
No. Single cover.
Yep. It's an interesting cover when Santana's hiding behind them all.
Yeah. Very humble guy, mate. It's just, like I said, go and watch him live. Unbelievably so. You know, it's not until, the late 70s where he sort of became the forefront, the focal of his stage setup. But, right through the early 70s, very much behind everybody else.
Yeah. He was very young here, wasn't he?
Yep.
Well, they're all young, aren't they? It's just that's one of the amazing things you kind of don't necessarily is that they're all they're all 18, 19, 20 kind of thing, aren't they? They're not they're making extraordinary music, and they're then they're that young.
And another single cover for Black Magic, Evil Waves. Thank you, Simon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great pictures.
Cool pics. Yeah. Fantastic. Yes, and the P90 revelation.
And the Mesa Boogie revelation.
Yes, quite right. Yes. It's difficult to see. I can't find on a quick search on when he actually started using but he certainly used Fender Princeton's before he used Mesa Boogie. So they could have been Fenders in 1970, but certainly Mesa Boogie were going in 1969, and they asked Santana to demo. He went into a shop where they were, and he was asked to demo them. Santana and liked them, picking them up. So he could have been using one there. I'm not entirely certain. I'll have a look later, see if I can find it. Okay, so side 2, which starts off with "Se acabó," as it were. So apparently it's Spanish for "it's finished," and that's the entire lyric in the song, repeated 6 times. Basically, the words are just they're just incidental, and the song is mostly instrumental. To be honest, it's not driven by the drums, organ, and the guitar. It's apparently it's got "se acabó" as 3 separate things, but apparently it should be "se acabó." So the A should have been attached to the cabo, but apparently it wasn't. It's one of those classic slightly misinterpretations of a word, but transcribed by those who didn't know Spanish, clearly. But again, it's got all the ingredients that we've been talking about. It's got the congas that start and that percussion, those sticky drums, and with the bass, great bass playing. I think the bass playing is amazing on this record. It's holds it down when need to be, melodic, really lays down the foundation on which the guitar and the organ can really bounce off, and the drums and the percussion to some extent. It's got a great soaring kind of melodic solo as well. More than blues again. I'll say it again, more than blues. And then you've got a kind of drop down to percussion and bass, and electric piano stuff later on, and then back to the organ under the guitar as well. So they're swapping instruments back and forth and playing different things. 9 out of 10 from me, and never a skip. Brad.
Se acabó. How do you say it? Se acabó.
Se acabó.
Se acabó. Se acabó. It's definitely got another Latin feel to it, with a rock sort of a Latin rock groove. Is that how you describe it? It's got that
Yeah.
sort of Latin rock groove. It's got a driven sort of rhythm by the rhythm section. Lots of percussion, like lots of intricate percussion going on. Santana's guitar work. I mean, it's intense, isn't it? It's a lot of fiery playing. And he plays off the rhythm section so well. You mentioned about Rolly's organ and electric piano work there, Simon, so I don't want to repeat too much of that, but it's so solid, his work. It's equally as important as every other instrument on the entire song. There's a lot of harmonic sort of stuff going on as well, which lays the foundation for the song, really. And he also takes the spotlight in a lot of sections of this song, as does Santana. And I have to say, the rhythm section is just absolutely kicking ass. I mean, we're not sort of mentioning bass drums, congas, this and that, because it's like one instrument. They're so gelled together. It's phenomenal the way that they play together, and you can only imagine what it would have been like when they're recording this record, being in the room with them. These musicians and listening to them would have been something special, something spectacular. I've given this an 8.5 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Andrew?
Yeah, well, it's not Cabo Wabo, is it, Brad?
No.
Look, it's a great song. I get where it's coming from. At the 52-second 1 minute mark, there's a pretty cool solo. I think it sounds like he's playing a fuzz pedal, Brad.
Probably right there.
Yeah, it's the first time I can clearly identify the fuzz. I know that he was using what was that thing that Clapton apparently was supposed to have used when he was doing a treble range
boost,
a treble
range,
boost,
yeah,
yeah.
range
So
master.
range master or treble boost or something like that. So
Yeah.
apparently he was using something like those around the time. But I reckon that sounds like a fuzz to me. And look, it's never a skip now, Simon. I think probably back in the day it would have been just a great showpiece for another technique for Carlos's guitar playing skills. And again, it gets a little bit more interesting later on. So we're not getting the same kind of stuff, Brad, as a guitar player. He's offering, as you used to say, will still do, different elements, different ingredients, different techniques into the album without sort of giving it all in the first couple of songs. But for me, I've given this a 8 out of 10, Simon, and it's never a skip. But I think I may have skipped it back in the day. I think I may have because, for some reason, I think I may have.
Well, it's your perspective on albums changes, doesn't it? I mean, and I've coming back to this, having not heard it for ages. I'm pleased and by how fresh and how kind of different it sounds to the other stuff. It has elements of other things, jazz, but I think it has its own unique style, and and I think if you can say that about a record, any of the tracks, then they deserve good scores and they deserve to be listened to, kind of thing, and not skipped. And so hats off to you for that. Okay,
Yeah.
so the second track on side 2 is Mother's Daughter, which is a Greg Rowley track. This is really the interesting thing. This is kind of the pop end of it, isn't it? It's a very very much got a kind of straight 3-chord melody going on, just 3 chords, and in many ways the first time since Black Magic Woman that you've got a proper kind of strong structure with a verse and a chorus and that sort of thing. So the other stuff has not been like that, but except for Black Magic Woman, I think is. But you've got The organ, kind of is one of the main instruments, playing the chords. Again, they've got the percussion, the drums in to give it that kind of Latin feel. But and then you've got that amazing kind of distorted guitar playing those slashing chords, which is sounds fantastic. Huge sounding as well for the time. It sounds brilliant. And only the second track to be sung in English, I think, as well. The rest of it's Spanish. But guitar solos at the end of the verse. He has a little bit, doesn't he? A little section, Carlos, at the end of each of the verses that where he plays. And then you've got the kind of later on guitar interjections with the chords, which is dynamic diversity going on in this track, which is fantastic. Again, the guitar solos at the end of the verse, and then you've got a guitar solo over the organ, bass, and drums and percussion towards the end. And that bridge with that kind of really heavily distorted guitar and organs. I don't know how they got that sound, but it sounds amazing, kind of in a way. And then you've got at the end, you've got the guitar solos over that kind of pulsing bass with lots of trills and hammer-ons and hammer-offs and things. And he's really showing his chops off at the end. Some of this reminded me, it's a bit left field, this thing, but kind of reminded me of a bit sometimes of Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead, that kind of jamming thing.
Okay.
Kind of melodic, just in kind of terms of the melodic way of playing. I don't think they're not the same band, but I kind of felt that there were bits in there that I think, oh, there's a bit Grateful Deadish kind of thing. I don't know whether that's particularly really true, or whether it's just my imagination picking up, but it's something.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So I gave this a 9 out of 10, but never a skip. And I'm really interested because it's what I might call a proper song, with kind of a structure and stuff, which marks it out. I think, and interestingly, side 1 and side 2 both have a proper song. So we've got the Black Magic Woman, which is a proper song, and then you've got this as a proper song. There's a second track on both sides. That's a kind of mirror image to each other. Anyway, Brad.
Yeah. Look, I've got here Mother's Daughter. It's one of the more straightforward sort of rock songs on the album, purposely put there, I'd say, as it's approaching the end of the album. Like you said, on each side, then there's like one sort of straightforward song on both sides. It does feature Greg Rowley on lead vocals, like you said, and the vocals are great. I think he sings really well on the whole record, but it sounds great on this song. The song's driving. Santana's guitar work. I mean, you said, Simon, there's some soaring parts in there. His solos are always just, he's very unique. There's some bluesy stuff going on there. But the way he delivers his performance is outstanding. And I'll put here great drumming and bass playing. The percussion is more subdued on this track. It's got more emphasis on the rock aspect of this song. It's still got a little bit of that Latin flavor, but it's a little bit more rock, this song, and probably more fitting to some of the other bands that were around at that era as well. And the last note I put here is great vocal again. That I must have put that twice, but 9 out of 10, guys, and never a skip for me. Andrew.
Cool. I just want to acknowledge, so Carl's saying PRSs and Mesa Boogies later on, and don't forget too that he had those Yamaha SA 2000s too there for a while in the late 70s, which were really, really cool.
They're good guitars.
A good mate of mine, Harry Poe, saved up for years to get one, and they were rivaling the SGs and the Les Pauls, bro. Really expensive guitars to this day.
Yeah.
But thank you, folks, also for the comments. And Carl's saying, Charlie's got the drummer's got a Charlie Watts set up again. Clearly, definitely. It's just amazing, Simon, what you can do just with a simple drum set. Just phenomenal. mind-blowing.
So,
Brad, you know, on the previous song, I was sort of talking about, you know, Carlos's techniques and what he was doing, and on that track, and he was using a fuzz. On this track, it's a manifesto of techniques as far as what Carlos Santana's doing. He's got unison bends, he's got his vibrato going, his attack on the guitar on this track, and double stops, bro. You know, it's just, you know, he's pulling out all the stops that everybody else, all his contemporaries are doing. So he's sort of starting to nail it a little bit more. And again, it gets better and better, folks. So just hold on, because, you know, we're still ranking the tracks. But I have to say, Simon, this is one of the great vocal performances on the album. I think we've lost the rock professor. I think he's trying out for Doctor Who.
He does look like it, doesn't he?
He's getting caught in time, bro.
Andrew, let's just freeze. I can't keep that up. My arms are getting sore.
Here he comes. Oh no. Here he is.
Andrew, freeze now, freeze.
Yeah, hold on, bro. Hold on. Right. Do it now. Hold on.
Am I back? Yes. Sorry about that. Oh, no. Oh, there we are. Stop that. You. Pretend you're frozen. Yeah.
I should have done. Hey, Andrew, I should have done the same pose that we lost the rock professor doing this.
Yes. Pressing the leave button because I've got the whirling gigs of doom. Spinning wheels of doom. Fantastic. Well done, boys. Brilliant. Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah. I should have frozen at home too.
Yes, you should have all done it. Yes. Lovely. Well done, guys. Fantastic.
Amazing.
See, and I'd just like to point out that Great Vanzini's agreeing with me about a bit of the Grateful Dead thing in there. Anyway, sorry guys, I missed that last bit, but it'll be on the recording. It'll be fine. It's been me crashing out, having StreamYard bother.
Good.
What did you give it, Andrew? What did you give it?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Cool. That's right. So, track 3, getting their team. Samba Pati, another Santana instrumental. The song written by Carl Santana after he witnessed a jazz saxophonist playing in the street outside his apartment. Santana said to Mojo magazine that it was the first song he felt he could call his own, and he really felt like he had a suspicion that it came from stuff bottled up inside him. I didn't know how to express it or articulate it. I get angry because why can't I say what I really mean? Then Samba Pati comes out to me and everybody understands it, which is amazing. But it's interesting when he was recording it. He's in the studio and his headphones started falling off and they were kind of on his nose and the back of his head. And the producer Fred Cotero almost stopped it, but he said, "Wait till he makes a mistake." And his headphones actually ended up on the ground. He was so engrossed in what he was playing. We only stopped it when he finally lost it. He was playing with his headphones on the floor. It was amazing to watch. So I'm glad I was there to tell. Let's say don't stop. That's wonderful. But to me, this is this is one of the classics on this album. It's one of the ones I remember the best going back to it. Classic for me, classic guitar melody over that subdued organ, congas and bass and drums and with maracas as well in the background. A little bit of acoustic, I think, in the background as well. Detected an acoustic in the background. Very nice. The guitar is very much a guitar-based thing. Guitar plays for about the first time. I think he plays kind of call and response stuff. You know, he actually does some call and response with itself, which is not what he's done in for the rest of the tracks on this album. But and you've got that again, that riding the volume pedal. The guitar is louder, but still fantastic melody. It's a lovely melody, and it kind of, for me, it kind of preempts what he did with Smooth and those kind of later things. But it's all there from the off, really. That beautiful melodic playing, that ability to get a real melody and a real song out of something. It's for any budding guitarists, whoever, it's worth going and checking out. What just playing not that much, but playing beautifully. Feel, it's all there. Beautiful song as far as I'm concerned. 10 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. And as I say, I think for me, my problem is this album has is evocative of that time in my life when I was 17 on my first job. So, but 10 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. Fantastic song, Brad.
Samba Party. Of the first thing I've written down is, this is a wonderful example of a song that you play to someone who's never heard Santana before, and this is Santana perfect in every single way. I couldn't explain it any better than that. It's a slow instrumental. It's got a soulful feel to it. It's really showcasing Santana's lyrical style of guitar playing, which is what you mentioned with Smooth, Simon, later. It's got that lyrical content through the guitar, talking through the guitar, and Santana's big on, when he discusses his guitar playing later in his career, he talks about it like he's singing through the guitar, and that's exactly what he's doing in this song. He's expressing himself in it with a wide range of feelings and emotions in his playing on this song. It's hard to describe in words if you haven't heard the song. You just got to have a good listen. The rhythm section really supports the guitar with that laid-back groove. Rolly's organ and piano playing adds that sort of richness to the song. I love how the song changes gear towards the end and lifts, like the mood lifts. It's like got that sort of very sad sort of feel, but it's uplifting at the same time. As the song progresses, it gets more uplifting. And for anyone who's tried to write a song in such a way, it is extremely difficult to pull it off. And I think Santana and band pulled it off amazingly well. Without a doubt, it's probably the highlight of the record. 100 out of 10, never a skip for me. Andrew.
Oh,
Well,
I feel like I've underscored it.
one of the things about going third is that you just have to suck it up. I didn't know where I would be, actually, in all honesty, when I ranked this song to present to you guys. And then just reading Tony's comments here in the chat, Great Vanzini's, Hugh's comments, seeing Alan's, and then hearing your guys' comments, Carl's comments. I can't add much more to what you guys have said, other than, it's just a lovely, delicate song. I love the tone on this song and the style, the message that it presents and portrays. Go and listen to what my co-hosts have said if you're on a replay, please, because they're going to nail it a little bit more. But I have to agree with you, Brad. When I first listened to this album 5 days ago, 6 days ago, I was blown away by this track. I didn't remember this track being so good. And I too have put the comment here that this is my favourite track on the album. It's my favourite track. And it kind of surprises me that I've picked this track, Simon, because, it's not what my mind should be picking. but it's a song that my heart's picked, Brad.
Mm,
You know, if that makes any sense.
it does.
I've given this a huge score. It's just
Oh,
yeah, it's just incredible. And it's good to see that, you know, other people in the track, on our show here, are on a similar vein with the comments more than any other comment, I think, on any of the other tracks we've spoken about. And I was a little bit scared, like I said, Simon, how you guys would rank it. You know.
it's a classic, absolute classic. I'm revising my score up to a Brad score, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
one of the standout tracks. It is one of the standout tracks on
Oh.
this record. Beautiful.
yeah. I mean, sometimes that's what the wonderful thing about this show. Sometimes it takes someone else in the chat or one of you two fine gentlemen, to, you know, explain something that really knocks you like a ton of bricks over the head. Like, oh, I didn't think of that. And that's the wonderful thing about the show, what we do here, in my opinion, Simon. So, you know, if you've reassessed it now after hearing what we have to say,
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Can I just interrupt too, bro? About Hugh, our brother Hugh, and go and please, folks, subscribe to his channel. He dropped a Petula Clark video yesterday, doing Downtown. So go and check out Hugh. But you're right, bro. Sorry for interrupting, Brad. But you're right. Yeah.
yeah.
Something akin to holy music. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Has a spiritual quality for sure. Great Virginia, yeah. Well said. Fantastic. Cool. Okay, so the second last track is "Hope You're Feeling Better." No, never better. Which is another Greg Rowley song. Starting off with the organ and drums, but also a bit of wah-wah guitar for the first time. Bit of a subtle nod to Hendrix, I feel, with the thing. It's not. They're not really the same thing at all, Santana and Hendrix, but there's a bit of that wah-wah thing. I think we always associate wah-wah with Hendrix. I don't know why, but just wah-wah. Simon, behave yourself. But wah-wah, great vocals, and again, that kind of organ that plays with the guitar is very much kind of those two instruments, and you've got that solo guitar that plays with the vocals in the chorus with a kind of call and response thing, which has not been used very much on this album at all, really. You know, the old call and response thing. And we say it a lot on other albums, don't we? But not really much at all. Right, kind of funky vibe, and then you've got that 133, that drop down with the guitar and the kind of wordless vocals as well, giving it the dynamics, and then you've got the guitar solo, which is more bluesy this time. This is bluesy, sort of soaring bluesy guitar over the organ, and again towards the end you've got more of that bluesy, soaring bluesy magic to end it. It's, you know, again more fantastic playing from Carlos, but as I say, more in that bluesy vein, but not so much. So 9 out of 10 from me. Never a skip.
Yeah.
Brad, sorry, I didn't think you were going to do next. It's Brad, that's it.
Yeah. Hope you're feeling better. Definitely, probably one of the heavier songs on the album, I have to say. I love the guitar playing, the wah. The rhythm section lays down a really solid groove on this song, and Santana, you know, adds that really biting sort of, I don't know, really aggressive, biting sort of guitar playing throughout the song. Some wonderful, powerful vocals, very powerful vocals from Rowley, and his organ playing, again, fantastic. Has a great melody, this song too. I think it stands out with more of a traditional rock structure, while still maintaining that Latin influence and with the percussion. It's definitely one of the heavier tracks on the record, and I always like a good heavy track every now and again. It's definitely know, it's got a psychedelic feel to it, but it's very early 70s vibe for me. They've captured that, which was happening at that time, that early 70s rock thing. So 9 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. Andrew.
Bro, I hear Deep Purple on this track. I hear Hendrix on this track, bro. And the rock professor nailed it. I hear Eric Clapton on the guitar solo. I hear these three giants around this time. And again, the ability and the synthesis style that Santana had with his band and with his production team to incorporate all these key things in my mind on this track just blows me away after listening to the previous song, you know, which is uniquely Santana in itself. And then with this track here, you know, we get a rock song with elements, and this time not of jazz or fusion or that Latin style. We're definitely getting rock. Blows me away. I'm sitting there, you know, on Wednesday night listening to this, trying to work out, you know, besides playing music, Brad and Simon, besides playing music, these guys clearly spend a lot of time listening to other music as well. Clearly, you know, to be motivated and inspired and to keep up, you know, with what's going on. They have to be. And, you know, just blows me away. Look, I've given this a 10 out of 10. What, you know, just about could be a contender for a game for one of my favorite tracks, Simon, on the album. But, boy, love it.
Yeah.
Interesting, that kind of deeper cut thing. The quality of the songs never dips. And, you know, and you find songs that you don't, and I don't particularly remember this before re-listening to it, you know, but yeah, it's a fantastic song and really holds, you know, if you're following a samba party it's quite a hard thing, but it does it, you know, just fine, doesn't it? As a, you know, with that complete alteration of the sound and things. Really good.
And Simon, it's the second last song.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Debunked. Yes, I think that's serious.
I'm not even going to say it's debunked anymore. I'm just going to say, and it's the second last song.
Thank you, John. Apparently, I've got an OnlyFans account, according to John. That's slightly worrying. Basically, this is not a real website. Can't imagine anything more terrifying. No. Anyway, fantastic. So the last track is really a throwaway thing at the end, isn't it? It's really a kind of just a little percussion piece, isn't it? Just a minute and a half of a percussion piece. Just a little sketch, really. Just a little acoustic playing a 2-chord vamp with some congas and a little bit of vocals, but not very much. Just really a percussion solo, yeah, with congas to fade out. I don't have much to say about it. I don't skip it because it's only a minute and a half, but I'm only giving it 6 out of 10. I don't. So it's a throwaway sketch piece as far as I'm concerned. I don't not entirely certain why they put it on. It's only a minute and a half, to be honest, but maybe it's just a bit of fun. Brad.
I was actually thinking they should have put this as the second last song, Simon, to not debunk.
Yes, yeah. Dear, hold on, dear Mr. Santana, please can you?
Yes, I think Hugh just mentioned that. Actually, I just saw in the comments. That's hilarious. Yeah, look, I have to agree with you, Simon. It's a bit of a throwaway, short instrumental piece. You know, the return of that Latin sound. The track is rhythmic percussion, heavy, Santana's guitar providing a little bit of melodic sort of thing over the top. The interplay, percussion, guitar. There's a bit of uplifting sort of conclusion to the record, but it's not something that I would probably listen to every time. I don't know. I'll probably, in the context of the record, I won't skip it, but it's not something that maybe back in the day when I first started listening to this record, I probably would have skipped this one maybe to get to the next album or whatever. So for that reason, I'll give it 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10. Yeah. Andrew.
I don't see how, guys, this song or number or track serves the album. To be fair, I can't, after listening to the last two tracks, which are just perfection. What they should have done is they should have just Simon recorded this backwards and done a Beatles thing and played it backwards and given us something, like Tomorrow Never Knows or something like. Yeah. I mean, no disrespect to Santana and people who love the album, but Brad, I can't see how this track serves the album at all. And for that reason, I'd always skip it. When I was listening to it, I was the only word that I can describe. It kind of depressed me that after listening to the previous songs, and then I had to listen to this. It's like, oh, this is shit. and I don't want to listen to an album that's like got you heightened, got you like buzzing, and then listen to it the last track.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I understand that completely. Are you giving it a score, or are you not scoring it at all?
Oh, look, I'll be respectful. I'll give it 6 out of 10. And in like Brad said, something really important. In the concept of the album, I think you have to listen to it once, I suppose. But when I put this on, when I make a playlist and include this on my playlist, and I have done it, it won't include this track.
Yeah. See, Helene's thinks it's a nice way to finish with the drums, and I like the way she finishes. Disagree with you, Andrew. 8 out of 10 they are. Helene.
100%.
That's fine. Fantastic. Yeah. But, so there we are, and that's Abraxas by Santana, which is I think fantastic, groundbreaking, mixture of Latin, jazz, blues rhythms that make it a unique sounding album. Fantastic, and Carlos Santana's a fantastic guitar player with that kind of, enhanced melodic that he's playing that he does. Not just pentatonic stuff, not just blues stuff, but other modes as well. So
it's just incredible.
Really,
it's an incredible
really
album,
pleased.
Simon.
Yeah, it's been really pleased
and
to
he
go
went
back
on to do some
remind
really
me.
good stuff. Right through his career. I'm not a Santana nut by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly going to be listening more of him. But that album that he did in 2000, the lead track with Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20. People who weren't listening to guitar music, Simon and Brad, were listening to guitar music again. People I was hanging out with that were just listening to crap, were listening to Santana.
Yeah.
And didn't understand in the context, that this guy went back to the 60s, Simon, to the late 60s.
Yeah. Been at Woodstock and all of that stuff. Yeah. Fantastic. But, and I go back to one of my original ones, which is, they were just, all young, all just, but, there hadn't been music like this, and therefore they were, just going into uncharted territory, doing the things that they wanted to do, recording them, and, pleased that, that they sold, that big, caught the public's attention. It sold. because it's a fantastic record. You know, these days one wonders if it would just be just a niche somewhere. You know, but, you know, because its world was much smaller then. You know, it got the attention and that it deserved. So it's a lovely record, and as I say, for me, thanks Helene for reminding me that that we should do this, because it's, you know, it's taking me
And
back.
he had some hot musicians too, didn't he? He was playing with hot musicians, Brad. You know,
Hot young musicians, absolutely, yeah.
No hot.
oh, yeah. But in the little bit of research that I did leading up to the show, we can't underestimate, folks, how important the Woodstock gig was for Santana and the way young people took him. I don't think this album would have enjoyed anywhere near the success Simon had he not gone to Woodstock.
No, that's true. No, absolutely.
I think Woodstock opened, you know, the world's eyes to Santana and what he was doing, and the flavor of music he was incorporating, guitar and Latin music together, and you know, there was electric guitar and Latin music together.
Can I just ask you guys one question, please? And it's for everybody in the chat too. And and it's related to Woodstock. It's related to the subject we're talking about. So I promise. So I caught up with some friends today, and anyway, one of my friends has a jazz master, and I've got a Jaguar. And we were talking about the difference between jazz masters and Jaguars and Stratocasters and Telecasters. And what do you guys I never thought of this, but the only reason why the Stratocaster, and we love Stratocasters, we all got Stratocasters, the only reason why the Stratocaster took off over and above these offset guitars was because of Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. I'd say you definitely got a very valid point there.
Wow, I never thought of that ever in my life.
Yeah, I think I just watched an unboxing of Dave Navarro from Jane's Addiction opening. It was a Stratocaster master built by the Fender Custom Shop, relic exactly the same as Isabella, which is Hendrix's white guitar. So it's got all the same markings, the same serial number, everything, but it's got DN at the start of the serial number to differentiate it. But they've put all the same relicing on it as what that guitar actually has. And I think it's one of the most iconic guitars of that era. The Stratocaster playing Star Spangled Banner at Woodstock in '69.
Well, thank you, because it kind of blew me away, because as much as I pride myself in a little bit of guitar knowledge and history, Simon, I never thought, but it made kind of sense. And even John saying, yeah, the offset models were their flagship models. The Stratocasters weren't supposed to be the guitar that they are today. And it's all because of Hendrix. Wow.
Well, the Stratocaster is being copied in so many ways. You know, I mean, the Super Strat, the Frankies, the Frankensteins, everything, because of the bolt-on neck thing, the ability to put humbucker in the bridge and put Floyd Roses on them, and all sorts of stuff that evolved, obviously, from the original design of the Stratocaster in the late 50s. But I do think the Stratocaster was being used by Buddy Holly and a few artists a bit earlier than Hendrix that would have probably influenced guys like, I don't know, Clapton and stuff like that. 100% would have been aware of the Stratocaster and whatnot. But I think Hendrix brought it to the forefront of rock music because of what he was able to do on it, Andrew, and it looked like a space machine compared to every other guitar around.
Yeah, thank you for that. I never thought of the Strat being solely pinpointed to, and I kind of remembered, like you mentioned Clapton before. Clapton said one of the reasons why he played a Strat or wanted because Jimmy was playing a Strat.
Yeah, and I think it was what he was doing with it. It's like Jeff Beck. He was a Strat man, and he was really keen on the Stratocaster after seeing Hendrix play it. And that goes for a lot of those players. But you had blues guys like Buddy Guy playing Strats and whatnot as well. So there was that influence back there, Andrew. But I think Hendrix at Woodstock playing Star Spangled Banner definitely opened up the eyes of so many people because of the effects, everything he was doing with the whammy bar, everything he did with his beautiful version of Star Spangled Banner at that concert.
So if he was using a Jaguar playing that, the Jaguar would be the instrument today over and above the Strat.
It might have definitely got a little bit more recognition, but you got to understand the Jaguar became really popular in the 90s because of all the grunge bands, Andrew.
Only because they were cheap.
Yeah. But they're a great guitar too, the Jaguars. But I think Sorry, Simon.
No, well, I was going to say, so you're saying that Hendrix reinvigorated the Strat and kind of made it a popular instrument again, because maybe it hadn't been in the mid-60s kind of thing.
Well, that was
moving on to the
that was the conversation I had today with a couple of guys. It was Hendrix. Hendrix was the guy, and that Woodstock gig, because they'd watched our show, and that was the defining moment for the Stratocaster. To become.
Yeah.
And how many times have we sat on this channel and said, if you want a guitar, first guitar, get a Strat, because you can't go wrong with the Strat. You're going to be, you can put a distortion pedal in front of a Strat, and you're going to make it sound kind of like a Les Paul, but you can't make a Les Paul unless you've got, what Brad's got sound like a Strat. So how many times have we said that?
Yeah.
No, absolutely, yeah. And I agree with Great Vanzini that you could go back to Dick Dale, Buddy Holly, and here in England, of course, Hank Marvin in the Shadows, with the first ever,
Yeah.
But you're right. I think, Fender, as John said, the Jazz Master and the Jaguar were kind of, the posh Fender things for the early '60s, and but we didn't really take off in the same way. But I don't remember it, like. You're right. I think the Strat got reinvigorated by Hendrix playing it in the late '60s.
Well, that girl
against the trend of the Les Paul.
Yeah, who was the girl? Linda Keith. We blame Linda Keith stealing Keith Richards' Stratocaster and giving that Stratocaster to Jimmy when he was in the UK.
Imagine.
I love the fact we've narrowed it down to one person who is to blame. Quite right.
Linda Keith stealing Keith's Strat. Yeah. Wow. I just thought I'd sorry to detour the show. Sorry.
I agree. I think Hendrix in '67 at Monterey and all that, smashing that Strat up and doing that. But I do think that '69 Woodstock concert with that white Stratocaster, and the visual of him playing that outdoor concert with the sun there wasn't a sunrise behind him, but the daylight upon him, and playing Star Spangled Banner, that probably cemented a lot of Stratocaster sales, I would say. Yeah,
I agree, bro. I agree. On reflection, I agree, and I just kind of never thought about it until today. So good to see we're all on the same track.
Yeah.
Oh, we could take up a theory. That's great.
If you're watching on replay and you completely disagree with anything we've said, you're allowed to.
You just can't disagree while you're in the chat now. Yeah. I'm joking.
Well, I think it's really interesting to postulate. Why not postulate a theory? See if it floats. See if other people agree. See if other people can pick a hole in it. I think that's
Okay,
fine in my book.
So John's raised another really, really interesting question. I'm going to say, John, an offset, this trem system here stays in tune much better than than the standard trem on a Strat, especially if you're got open tunings or you're down tuned. So I think it'd probably play better and keep in tune.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
But yeah,
some very valid points. Yeah.
Stratocaster and Jimmy, eh? Wow.
Imagine if Hendrix gravitated to the Gibson Les Paul, and that was his choice of guitar.
Yeah.
Well, Arvin's right. Yeah, Jimmy did play a jazz master. Yeah, when he was on the Chitlin circuit. There's a few photos of him playing with it. Yeah.
How many Jimmy-style dive bombs do you do on it?
I actually play it like Kevin Shields, the guy from My Bloody Valentine. So I strum and use the whammy bar at the same time. Go and check out My Bloody Valentine, Loveless, and you'll get an idea of his technique. It's really cool. It's great. One day we're going to do a show. One day we're going to do a show on this channel. One day we're going to do a show on this channel where the Rock Professor, Brad, and I are going to pick one album that's completely left field of anything that's associated normally in the wheelhouse with this channel that we love, that we probably wouldn't normally bring to the channel. One day we're going to do a show like that each. And we're going to be completely...
I got a little bit worried for a second there, Andrew. I thought you were going to say one day we're going to do a show where we just pull out our strats and start dive bombing the whole show. Just like and see how how out of tune we can get them.
Well, we can do that.
No such luck, Brad.
And call that the shoegaze show, because that's basically what they do.
2 hours, yeah. I wonder how many trem arms we might break.
AC/DC's coming. I promise, Helen. Back in Black. We're going to be doing Back in Black. It's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Promise.
We're going to wait for an anniversary or something for that, aren't we?
Yeah. Definitely. It's we did discuss this a couple of weeks ago. Definitely going to do Back in Black.
Yes. Beautiful. Well,
okay, we're out of here. We got food to eat and dogs to walk.
Have we picked an album for next week, gentlemen? I think it's your choice, Andrew, isn't it?
No, I haven't even thought about it. I'll chat with you cats later.
Yeah, no worries.
I haven't even thought about it. Sorry.
No.
All right, it's fine. No worries. Busy. Fantastic.
All good. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yes, thanks for everyone. Yeah.
If you're watching
fantastic
this
comments and Great Vanzini says he doesn't think he's available that night. Nice. I'll say goodbye to everyone. I'll say goodbye to everyone before we go. So Great Vanzini, fantastic to see you, Great Vanzini. Thanks for dropping by. John ZD to everyone. Helene, thank you, Helene, for suggesting Santana. It's been a fantastic week listening to that. I've really enjoyed it. Hugh Caldwell, fantastic. Hugh, Mission RD100, nice of you to drop in. Mission, good to see you. Who else have we got further up there? Arvin, of course. Yes, Caravanserai is a really good album as well. Arvin, but on the list, the ever shrinking list. I've not. So we had Gret Zeppelin was here, Helene and Ellen. It's very confusing. Tony Bowen, of course. Thanks, Tony, for dropping by. Good to see you. Carl as well. Nice to see you, Carl, dropping into the chat. Hope you're all good. That's fantastic. Who else have we had roaming up the top? That German bloke who got the boot, quite right. Hugh Corbell, Phil Byers as well. Thanks, Phil, for dropping by. Elaine, Hugh, we had Derek Clacton as well at the very top, and Gret Zeppelin as well. Not forgetting Gret Zeppelin. Hopefully, I got everyone. Thanks everyone for dropping by, and fantastic comments as all. And we'll see you next week for something else. Take it away, boss.
At one stage we had 22 people watching, so thank you, folks. Too at one stage
fantastic.
there. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Cool indeed. Take care all. See you next week.